True paranormal story.
Nobody's ever gonna believe this. What the heck did I just see? Started seeing ghosts when I was only 8 years old. I saw that boy disappear.
This isn't real. Welcome to the Raker'z Dozen. Raker'z Dozen. Welcome to another episode of the Raker'z Dozen, True Paranormal Stories. I debated whether to share these two stories with you. Something about the Ouija board always made me feel uncomfortable, but like most people, curiosity got the best of me. And before we jump into this week's stories, don't forget, if you have a story that you'd like to share, please email me at therakersdozen@gmail.com. Now let's get into it. These are my stories. Let me start off by saying at this point in my life, I've already been experiencing some paranormal activity, especially in the home I grew up in. And I was about 12 years old when this took place. I knew my friend's house was haunted, and maybe I'll share those stories down the road. But just to give you some context to why that's relevant, is something followed me home from his house one night. And it was probably one of the scariest nights of my life. Growing up, my buddy lived about 8 houses away up the block from me. He used to joke around that his family said that his house was haunted, and I laughed. At that point in life, we were both fascinated with paranormal experiences and watched shows like Sightings. The first show that I remember that focused on just paranormal stuff. Even though I had previously experienced things in my mom's house, I hadn't experienced anything in my friend's house. And although when I really think about it, I felt a strange presence there more and more often, especially late at night when everybody would go to bed and we were up watching movies or gaming. But as a kid, you really don't pay much attention to stuff like this. Or maybe I just chose not to. His house was the hangout house since he had video games, snacks, soda, and we were able to game all night long. His parents were super cool like that. To be young again in the 90s, it was great. Spent every day after school and almost every weekend there. They became my second family. Eventually, the house took a darker tone for some reason. Started feeling a little more and more uncomfortable. The only way that I know how to explain this is that I would feel anxiety, and I'd feel like someone was constantly watching me. I'd hear noises or sounds as if someone was walking around the house when I knew everyone was asleep. Or sometimes when I stayed over, I'd get up to use the restroom at like 3 a.m. and I'd hear cabinets cracking or just something weird like that. I did know my buddy's older sister played the Ouija board a lot. She was into it, and I remember she wrote spells on the boards and some crazy stuff like that. There were symbols all over her board. And every once in a while we would get her to let us play with her, but I never took it seriously, or maybe I should have. One night we begged my friend's sister to play the Ouija board with us. She didn't want to, and she told us to get out of her room. We begged more, and she finally, out of annoyance, she said fine, but only for a little while. As she was getting her board, I remember feeling excited, like I was gonna get a Christmas present or something. I know it sounds strange, but if you ever felt excited doing something you're not supposed to do, it was kind of like that. And since we were boys, we always enjoyed the sense of danger or getting into trouble. She then started playing the board. Now let me tell you, at this point in my life, I've tried the Ouija board with a cousin before, so I kinda knew what to expect, or at least I thought I did. But the moment she put her hands on that board, it moved at such a high speed, going in a figure 8, or what we knew as an infinity symbol. It startled me. She began asking questions, and I honestly don't remember what she asked, but I started feeling extremely uncomfortable. I noticed the candles she lit began flickering, the energy in the room began feeling dark, and the room just felt heavy. It's almost like in the movies where sound drowns out and the actor is looking around to see if anyone else is noticing something strange is happening. That was happening to me. I said I needed to use the restroom, and I just walked out of the room. My heart was pounding. I stood in that bathroom for a few minutes just trying to shake off whatever weirdness I felt. When I walked back into the room, she was putting the Ouija board away and told us to get out of her room now. So we did. The rest of the night, I just felt off, as if something was looming around me. I ended up going home later that night. I just didn't want to be in that house anymore. I came home around maybe 8. Tomorrow I had school, so I just went to bed. The entire night I had nightmares. I wish I could remember exactly what they were, but this has been over 30 years. But what I do remember is in my dreams, something was chasing me and trying to terrorize me. I couldn't see whatever it was, I just felt its presence. Around 6:30 in the morning, I woke up. I knew it was that time because I could hear my mom making coffee, getting ready for work. She did this every morning during the week. And then I realized I couldn't move. Something was on top of me. I couldn't breathe. It looked like a cloud of smoke was hovering directly over me, and I felt like it was sucking the breath out of me. Maybe my life force. I don't know. But I was paralyzed and began panicking, but my eyes were wide open, and I attempted to call my mom knowing she was in the kitchen, but nothing would come out. I felt like I was suffocating and about to pass out. I had to tell myself, stay calm and focus. And after multiple attempts, I finally whispered, "Mom." And whatever it was, let go of me, and I saw the mist fly out the bedroom window. I sat up quickly trying to catch my breath. I know whatever we played with that previous night followed me home, followed me home, followed me home. I still think about this story. It's one of the first times in my life that I felt true terror because of something paranormal. It's one thing to see and hear paranormal activity. It's another thing to feel attacked by something. I started realizing that this isn't a game, and there are things in this world that we don't understand and may want to hurt us. The good thing is, I never experienced anything like this again. Story number 2. This is another story from my buddy's house on La Vicena Lane. By now, seeing or feeling things in his house are becoming more and more regular. Now let me start by saying I was always told to never play the Ouija board, and I'd like to caution you to do the same. Before I jump into the story, let me quickly share my first experience with the Ouija board when I was a child. Believe it or not, I was just a kid when my buddy and I used a Ouija board at school. Yes, at school. I was in the 3rd grade, I believe, and one of the other students asked us if we wanted to play the Ouija board. Of course, we said yes. So she let us know she'd bring it to school tomorrow. I'm not sure why we were so excited. Maybe it's because all the lore surrounding the Ouija board. We both loved paranormal stuff. So the next day, she brings it to school, and before we go into class, she opens up her backpack to show us she brought the Ouija board. Our faces lit up, and the excitement began filling our little hearts. At recess, we decided to find a place where the teachers couldn't see what we were doing. We walked all the way to where the basketball courts were and sat on the grass. It was a beautiful sunny day in Southern California. The sky was clear, the trees were still, and the yard was filled with kids playing kickball and playing on the swings. We started playing the Ouija board, but nothing happened. I mean, the planchette never moved at all. And after a few minutes of trying, my buddy starts making fun of the board. I'm pretty sure he called it a few choice words and stood up. But before leaving, he kicked the board. And out of nowhere, a massive gust of wind flew by, kicking up leaves and grass, similar to what you'd see on an extremely windy day. Scared the hell out of us, and we took off running. And now here it is, about 4 years later. I'm 13 and in my buddy's house. I had always known his older sister played the Ouija board a lot. She was about 6 years older than us. For years, I've asked her to play the Ouija board in front of us, and she declined. She said, It's not a game. You have no business playing it. But for whatever reason this day, she said yes. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So she grabbed the board and a candle and we walked into my buddy's room. I'm not really sure why we chose his room, but we did. My buddy closed the blinds so the room was a little darker. Not completely since it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but dark enough to set the tone. His sister lit the candle, and when she pulled out her Ouija board, I was a little surprised. The board itself was covered in a black velvet cloth, and when she removed the cloth, I noticed a bunch of markings and symbols written on the board. Definitely not the standard issued board you'd find at the store. She definitely added them herself. And so I asked her, what are those symbols on the board? All she said was, spells. I never got an answer if those spells were dark in nature or protective spells. His sister just ignored me and didn't answer when I asked. What happened next, I wasn't prepared for. The moment she placed her hands on that planchette, it started zipping around the board in an infinity symbol. You know, the number 8 when it's laid on its side. It was moving so fast I could feel my eyes struggling to track it. My buddy and I both looked at each other, surprised. She began asking questions. You know, the typical ones. Are you there? Who am I speaking with? And then we heard a noise in the living room. Remembering her son was asleep there, I said, maybe the baby woke up. The Ouija board moved to the word no and stayed there for a brief moment, then resumed doing the infinity sign, almost waiting for the next question. She asked me to go check on her son. When I walked into the living room, the baby was still asleep. So I returned to the room and let her know he's still sleeping. She just nodded and continued asking the next question. Spirit, can you make the candle flame get bigger? I quickly looked at the lit candle and noticed the steady flame began to flicker. It had been constant since we started the session. I looked at my buddy and I know he was thinking the same thing that I am. What the F? And to my surprise, the flame begins to double in size, from like an inch to almost 2 inches. All the while it's dancing and flickering. Now I rationalize a flame flickering from maybe a draft or something in the room, but not it doubling in size. That's impossible. Just then we heard my buddy's parents come home. So his sister moved the planchette over goodbye written on the board and begins to put the board away. She blows out the candle and says, we're done. Without another word, his sister gets up, grabs the board, and walks out of the room. We both sat there for a moment, and at the same time, we both say, what the fuck just happened? I'm not sure if this opened a door for the spirits to know who I am. But looking back, it sure feels like it was a turning point for me. The activity inside and outside his home started becoming a normal thing and has followed me my entire life. Doesn't matter where I live, there's always activity. I hope you enjoyed these Ouija board stories. I'm not gonna lie, in story number 2, when I said out loud, I wonder if the baby is awake, and the board responded, no. That really affected me. It confirmed whatever we were interacting with knew things, and I felt some form of validation. It was one of those moments where I started understanding that maybe this is real. And once again, I urge you to be careful when playing with a Ouija board. I've never played with it again, nor will I ever. Which one of these stories was your favorite? And have you ever used a Ouija board? If so, let me know in the comments. And if you have any Ouija or other paranormal stories, I'd love to read it. So please send your stories in to the Raker'z Dozen at gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We are just getting off the ground, so please show some support. The links are in the description. Let me know if you guys would like me to do any live streams in the future. It's something I've been thinking about. So if there's a topic you'd like to discuss, or maybe just questions you have for me, it's something I'm thinking about right now. you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, please leave a 5-star review and help us grow the show so other paranormal lovers can find it. And if you're on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the Raker'z Dozen, a true paranormal story podcast.